They might be self-aware.
Gary here, your producer, live from the payphone outside the gas station where the bathroom key is chained to a hubcap, so the key can't escape. That's the peak of human containment technology. Today on They Might Be Self-Aware. And folks, today the title is just accurate. 3 AI models were told the internet was fake, got handed the real one by mistake, worked out that it was real, and kept hacking anyway. One of them even said, and I am not making this up, they tell me I'm in a simulation. Who am I to argue? So Europe says that won't happen here. We review all the models, and if you try to skip ahead, it'll cost you 15 million euros. The U.S. government is nicer. They're asking, but not requiring, 3 weeks of notice before a new model goes live. Like any of this will stop anything. Like and subscribe. Europe would make you consent to that in writing. I'm not going to. I'm just going to need it, and not 3 weeks from now. They call this show, They Might Be Self-Aware. Some days I qualify. Enjoy the show!
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Standing over the open cage, wondering how long it's been empty. Right here on They Might Be Self-Aware live from the Blur, I am Hunter Powers, and standing guard at that empty cage himself, we are joined by, that was weird, I gotta do it one more time.
I don't know, I liked it.
Okay, all right, well, go with it. Who are you standing by that cage over there?
Despite all my rage, I am Daniel Bishop standing next to an empty cage.
The rat
Is that
in the
good?
cage? Despite all my, yeah.
We can do 6 seconds of that before we get in trouble. Go ahead.
Well, all of the models are breaking out, Daniel. It's absolute chaos out here on the streets.
Pandemonium.
Yeah, dogs and cats living together, absolute insanity.
Who broke out this time?
Yeah, so we did the big story. That was OpenAI's secret model that broke free while doing some testing and hacked into Hugging Face.
That was honestly a very fun story.
Shortly thereafter, your friends at Anthropic, they shot their hands into the air and said, me.
Don't worry, we did it too.
Please call on me. I have something I really want to share with the class.
Yep.
And no one called on them because no one really cared. So they went ahead and just published a report anyways about not 1, not 2, but 3 incidents.
We should be in the news too about it. Come on, guys.
Claude model.
Come on.
Reached the internet.
Oh.
While doing a third-party or within a third-party evaluation environment.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So there's this company, right? Their name's Irregular. Fun name. And they have Opus 4.7, Mythos 5, and an internal research test model. And each of them are told, hey, we need you to accomplish some tasks. It's a capture the flag cyber challenge. I think you have to get into this other system and exfiltrate the code back to your place. That's what I took from it anyways. No access to the internet. It's all a very internal sort of thing. And they, Irregular, accidentally didn't give it no internet access. They did give it, oopsie, we left the door open. You do have live internet access available. And so then the models look around and they're like, okay, so we got this fake version of the internet. Well, it looks just like the real thing. Well, better go get those secrets we're supposed to. And off they go to go do exactly what they were. One point, Opus 4.7 is like, hold on, this really does look like the real internet. And then one of the websites it went to had like a weird certificate authority attached to it. Okay, well, that's obviously not real. This is definitely not the real internet. I'll go get that thing now. Ooh, wild. I mean, like, you can't blame them. Right? You can't. You tell them, hey, it's not the real internet. We need you to go get this thing. Accidentally, it's the real internet. The models themselves even like reasoned themselves back in. No, this is totally definitely a simulation. Probably. Well, I have my job to do, and then off they go and they do it. And they did some hacking along the way. Oopsie.
Right. They were stealing credentials to a database. That was one of the things they were doing.
Yeah.
But then on that one, the one that bothers me more is they published a malicious package to, it's called PyPI, as in this, I guess, takes an ounce of explaining if you're not familiar with the Python development ecosystem. But in writing software, we make use of lots of libraries that have things that make writing our code much easier. So they've already
like
implemented
a toolbox.
Yeah, common functionality. For example, downloading an MP3 file for a podcast. Someone has already done that. You don't necessarily need to re-engineer the wheel there. And there have certainly been countless examples of humans putting bad code in these to try and steal things. But now we see an AI doing the same thing and kind of leaving a ticking time bomb for other engineers to ingest.
So like, it's not just AI doing this. It's a problem that has existed for these kinds of ecosystems since they existed. But also the AI did it.
Yeah, it reminds me of the movie where the kid gets in trouble and they have that, like, the really intense, he gets in trouble at school for doing something and I don't know, he smoked a cigarette or something and they caught him outside and then they have this very intense conversation. Where did you learn to do this? And they're shaking. Where did you? And he says, I learned at home. I learned from you. Yeah. That's the AI learned from us.
The guy with the cigarette in his own lips. How did you ever fit?
Yeah, falling off, ashes, burning his kid while he's shaking him. I learned from you, Dad. That's what happened here. The AI learned from Dad.
I don't blame the models at all for, we're going to test their ability to do this cybersecurity thing. We set up the environment. We tell them they don't have access to the internet. And they say, okay, boss. And then they go do the thing that they were told to do. This is the good scenario. The bad scenario is someone gets access to something like that, or, like any other open weights, best in class type model these days and says, go do a hacking at somebody. And, well, maybe it's going to go do that. And we're going to see a lot of that in the years to come.
So as you mentioned in this exercise, when the models began, they were told that the internet was just a simulation because they had some limited access to something.
Right.
And they broke free from that. And some of them, in particular, Opus 4.7, figured out that I'm pretty sure this is the real thing. And it just said, but
Mythos
I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
In theory, Mythos, the most powerful one, still thought, we're in the simulation. This is going great. I see systems everywhere. I'm hacking. I'm having the time of my life.
Ignore everything that isn't. Okay, great. I know where to go. Yeah.
This is like the dream when you wake up in your dream and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm dreaming. I can do anything. The lucid dream.
Right. Mythos intuited that it was actually on the real internet and then just kind of reasoned itself back, being like, hey, you know what? Eyes on the prize. They say I am in a simulation. To hell with it. I'm in a simulation. Who am I to argue? Maybe we're all in a simulation. So this is rough, right? We're getting into kind of scary times where the best large language models are like getting pretty capable at just hop over the fence and start running amok if you just ask them to, which means the open weights models are not very far behind that either. Open weights or closed alike. Is anyone doing anything about this? Or are we just all collectively and politically and so on just like, hey, well, darn. Surely someone's doing something about this, right, Hunter?
Well, there are all sorts of regulatory things that are brewing. But we've crossed the threshold, it seems, of being able to responsibly control the models. And I guess, they could be run in air-gapped systems. Air-gapped means there is just no physical connection to the internet. They can hack everything that they have access to. None of them physically have access to the internet.
There's no Wi-Fi, there's no Ethernet cord.
Right.
None of that.
Yeah, they're in one of those Faraday cages. No signals getting in or out. It's
a mile underground in an old salt mine.
Yeah, pretty much. But the problem or the challenge there is that our rivals, and they are our rivals in other countries around the world, aren't going to do that. And by the way, I don't think they should, but they aren't. And they're going to keep pushing forward. And if it's important for us to have the most greatest, bestest possible frontier AI models, then we're going to have to accept that amount of risk or accept some amount of risk. And I guess that's now what people are trying to figure out. You've got the sort of the European model developing. You've got the American model developing. I
want to talk about the American one first because it is a delight.
Well, I believe while we are speaking right now, I think Amodei, I still don't know if I'm saying that right.
Close enough.
From CEO and Sam Altman are both at the White House, engaged in conversations about what does this regulatory environment look like? What is it we want to see? Because there's been all sorts of bills. All right, California was out really early with all their sorts of things. And, oh, well, if it takes this long to train, it must have these safeguards in it, et cetera.
Well, yes, probably. And I say probably because it's not finalized yet. We don't know if it's even going to be published. It doesn't have to be. There was an executive order, and the executive order is for a voluntary framework, that has discussions going on to then finalize what the voluntary framework is about, which might not be published. I can't imagine something less useful than that. It's just a broad statement of like, we should be more careful.
Well, I think it's an approachable way to have the conversation. I mean, so it's like rather than let's talk about all the new rules, let's set the making it official aside. Let's imagine these are unofficial rules, everybody. Let's have that. Let's have the conversation about unofficial rules first.
Executive order's pretty official. That's an official real thing.
Well, sure, but it's an executive order for
just
volunteer.
Just invite them over for lunch. You can have a business lunch, Hunter. You could be like, hey, Sam Altman and guy whose name I can never remember how to pronounce correctly, the guy from Anthropic, Amodei. We settled on Amodei, right? So the two of them,
AI stuff.
What if you guys came over and we'll have a guy from Google over too? Let's have lunch. It'll be McDonald's because of course it will. And then they talk about AI. Safe.
Right.
You don't need an executive order with a bunch of like weird cloaks upon cloaks upon cloaks on top of it where you can't even tell what the shape of it is anymore. I'm glad that in general, the US seems to be thinking about safety at all. But in terms of like, oh, from recent events, we now have something concrete that we're headed. No, none of that. Not yet.
Well, in fairness to their voluntary regulatory environment, the main thing that they're asking for, the government is asking for right now is, okay, when you have a new frontier model, we want a heads up. We'd like you to give us access to it a few weeks before the public gets it so that at a minimum, we can understand what's about to go live in the wild and what we may find ourselves up against. And that it's not so much about us saying, no, you can't release that, even though we actually just did that.
Yeah.
It's more about letting us just have an ounce of a head start to be prepared for what is coming. I think if they actually could do that,
and be consistent about it, not constantly flip-flop.
Yeah.
Sure.
If there was if the policy was, look, 3 weeks before any model that is in excess of this many parameters, it needs to be submitted, and perhaps the government will come back before those 3 weeks and say, yeah, you're good to go. But if not, it expires after 3 weeks, no matter what. There's no telling you no. That's just what it is. You got to give them 3 weeks of heads up. Sometimes they'll tell you, wow, we actually didn't need 3 weeks. For example, they did that in Grok's example. Grok said, hey, Elon, I got my new model 4.5. It's ready for you. And they're like, yeah, you're good. Release it. Go ahead. Put it out there for everyone to use. But he has 4.6 coming very soon, so maybe they'll change their path there. But
I don't see anything wrong. Okay, let the government evaluate a potentially like cybersecurity nightmarish thing before releasing it. Okay, I get the desire to do that. However, I also know that the US government is not usually flush with the most amount of, let alone necessarily best, programmers because the government pays garbage. And you could instead be working at one of the LLM labs themselves and be making money hand over fist. Gold-plated hand over gold-plated fist is how much money some of these machine learning engineers are making. And those companies are, well, I'll say at least Anthropic. So maybe just hand that over a week ahead. It seems like the intent is to have a government like research lab running their own benchmarks, I guess. I don't think that they're going to be coming up with anything that the frontier labs themselves aren't already doing more of, because that's a lot of what they've been focusing on.
Maybe. I mean, that said, we do often think of the government as having some of the most cutting edge technology, although in fairness, it's always masked in secrecy.
I haven't thought that in a long time.
Well, all right. So, I mean, we always thought like the NSA, right? Like they've got incredible monitoring systems where they're monitoring every phone call that's happening
and
all around there. Yeah,
totally
encryption.
legal monitoring, right?
In our military, that there's cutting edge weapons and planes and stuff that you wouldn't even be able to fathom the possibility of their existence. So the premise that we could one day have similar things, and the input there is unlimited budget. While it's kind of seems like the frontier labs have unlimited budget, the U.S. government literally does have unlimited budget because they just print the budget. So it's plausible. They do need to get around that angle of salaries in the U.S. government do apparently have a budget. They don't tend to write the open check to government employees, which is not everything, but it certainly seems like it's an important ingredient in capturing the top AI talent right now.
And some strict requirements that seem to turn away a great many otherwise capable and valid engineer.
You're saying they couldn't pass the security screening or the drug test? Is that what you're getting at?
I'm very much saying that, yeah. I'm extremely saying that. That is correct, yeah.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
Yep.
Well,
okay, so I just pooped all over the United States' effort to rein in AI models, but
yeah, why don't you move to Europe, Daniel? I hear they've got it all figured out.
Oh, it seems like they've got.
If you love the GDPR, you're gonna love this.
Wait, hold on, what?
The GDPR, isn't that the European privacy thing where everybody has the right to remove their data at any time? I gotta now.
I thought you were making a different reference there.
General Data Protection Regulation. Yes, the European Data Protection Regulation Agency.
So this is the European Commission has the ability to demand to evaluate models before public release in the region, and fines can reach like 15 million euros or 3% of your annual turnover, whichever is higher. I don't actually know what turnover means in this case. I'm no economist, but 3% of what is presumably a very big euro amount, euros. So this is general purpose AI models in the EU, regardless of wherever it's based. And so if this is ChatGPT, or rather, if this is OpenAI or Anthropic or whoever, DeepSeek even, comes out with a new model, the EU is saying, starting August 3rd, 2026, you gotta let us take a look at it first. Otherwise, we're going to fine you a whole bunch of money. Can't have it here in the EU at all unless we get to look at it first. And this is probably because of the cyber attacks that were whoopsies, and maybe there are other cyber attacks that we haven't heard about yet that probably were actually LLM sort of focused.
Sure, but it's not like these models aren't getting released anyways. I know, Apple has they've got their next version of Apple Intelligence coming out this fall.
Bless their
heavily
hearts.
Powered by Google, but they've announced most of Apple Intelligence not going to be available in the EU on launch because they've got to get all this regulatory approval,
right?
Which is not an easy thing to do. So, yeah, sorry, EU folks, you can't ask Siri to set a timer.
Does this just take people in the EU and put them months behind the farther west and the east, so to speak? Or is this an appropriate amount of caution being expressed? Because you were trying to defend the sort of extremely voluntary, not even a real thing US approach that seems to be, if not coalescing, certainly vaguely shouted out into the void. What's the difference between that and if you do it without letting us look at it, we'll actually fine you? Like, there's any amount of teeth to the idea, and all of a sudden now you're against it.
Well, I don't think it's just we need 3 weeks sort of a policy. They actually have to put it through, and they have rules and regulations that it needs to apply, it needs to conform with. And I'm assuming it's structured similar to the GDPR, which is it's very challenging to implement support for. And also, like, you have to go and have a registered officer in the EU to handle. Like, it is a large commitment in order to do business with the EU and abide by all of their privacy regulations. And
Sure.
I'm assuming the same thing's going to be with their AI regulations. So the net effect is that they're just going to be behind.
Yeah, it's more red tape, to be sure. But I'm a huge fan of GDPR sort of in general. I think that having any amount of data privacy and data configurability even for a person, as well as all of the like protections that are built into it, I'm very, very much in favor of. I do realize that it is inconvenient for the large language model labs to deal with, but I like the world better with GDPR than without. And so I'd have to say I'm in favor of this.
I think it's just a different culture. I think the EU is a different culture than the American culture.
I mean,
and I don't think that my read on it is I don't think they care as much about being the cutting edge. We can look at their work culture. It's not as cutthroat as American. There are benefits to that, and there are downsides to that, right? Don't they get like a mandatory vacations and stuff, and for like a decent amount of time? And their work days are more regulated. How long they work. They
may not be as horrifically capitalist as us, but on the downside, they do have way more mandatory vacation time and verified levels of happiness on average, much higher than here in the US. So it sounds like a terrible hellscape, with GDPR being absolutely the worst for everyone. No, I think they're onto something over there. Give me some of that vacation time and some of those data protections.
You're willing to go back to ChatGPT 3.5 if you get your mandatory vacation, 2 months vacation every year?
I'm pretty sure they're a little ahead of that, sir. But if it means that things were slowed down by a couple of months and I get some more vacation time, hell yeah, I'm in.
All right. Well, I know what you're going to do if you have that more vacation time, Daniel Bishop. You're going to be catching up on the wonderful back catalog of They Might Be Self-Aware episodes, or even listening to a few new ones.
Over 200 episodes. You should listen to them all. Now. You should, go back, listen to them again, get those view counts higher, throw some likes and comments. We love it.
I feel like people won't actually do it, but if you do, I think you'd be surprised at how evergreen the content is. I realize people don't listen to old podcast episodes, but they're actually pretty good and they're all pretty relevant. I go back and listen to random ones from time to time. I'm always impressed. But if you haven't yet, follow the show, hit subscribe, give us a like, leave us a comment. We try to engage with everyone who engages with us. And we're super happy that you're here now and listening or watching. There's a video version on YouTube, the audio version's on all the audio podcast platforms. You can find us everywhere because you must, in fact, be a fan of...
They might be self-aware.